Hello, Vikings. It's Miss Hawkins again. Today, we are going to do two different documents. We are starting with document A, which is up on your screen. So, our objective for today is I can answer the essential question, how did the Nile shape ancient Egypt? Remember, we're working on this all week long. The directions, study the map below, and answer the following questions in complete sentences. So that's what we'll do first. Let's take a look at the map. This, we can tell, is a map of Egypt circa 1500 BCE. So circa means around. This map shows what Egypt looked like around 1500 BCE. We can see from the legend that the green area is the fertile Nile Valley, and you'll notice that follows what? Exactly, that follows the Nile. Good job. Follows the Nile River. There's our compass rose. And then each of these dots are important settlements or cities. This map was created from various sources, so that's good information to have. It's not like this map was made in 1500 BCE. This is a secondary source document where we took information from the time and we have compiled it together into one map, one document for us. So we can see all of these different cities, all these different settlements. And then up here in the Nile Delta, you'll see that the Nile, because remember, the Nile flows from south to north. It's one of very few rivers in the world that actually flow from south to north. Most rivers flow from north to south. But because the Nile flows from south to north into the Mediterranean Sea, you can see all of these different tributaries. Remember, that's a word we learned yesterday, that go off into the Mediterranean, and because there is so much water there, it forms this delta, this triangle type shape, and it makes that whole area fertile. We also have the scale. So from here to here is 50 miles, and from here to here is 100 miles. So we see how that scale works, right? We are American, we don't use kilometers, so we're going to keep with the miles. Okay, we're going to read the questions now. Number 1, the Nile is the world's longest river at 4,160 miles. Consider the southern boundary of ancient Egypt to be Aswan, the first cataracts of the rapids. So right here, Aswan is the southern boundary of Egypt. So we can see right there is Upper Egypt, right there is Nubia. About how many miles of the Nile are actually in Egypt? So here's where we're going to use that scale. You are also going to need something like a piece of paper. So I'm going to take a little sticky note, and I'm going to hold this up to that scale, and I'm going to mark on my sticky note exactly where the scale is. So I'm going to put it on my computer, and all I did was I made a little mark. So I know from here to here is 100 miles, okay? Now I'm going to measure from Aswan, from here all the way to the Mediterranean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sticky note, I'm going to place it on the screen, I'm going to put my other finger at the top of that, and I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to follow the Nile, and I know that every time I get to that part, that's 100 miles. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to measure. You pause the video, and you also measure. Okay, so a roundabout, because we're not looking for a perfect measurement, but around how long is the Nile River that is in Egypt? Don't just wait for me to tell you the answer. Yeah, around somewhere between 600 and 700 miles. Good, I'll take that. So 650, sure, that works too. So remember, we are not answering, we're not just saying 600 to 700 miles, we are answering in complete sentences. So go ahead and write that down. Okay, number 2, why is the Delta region to the north called Lower Egypt? So we have Upper Egypt down here and Lower Egypt up here. That doesn't really make sense to our American brains, right? If you need to, rewind the video and go back, because I did tell you something really interesting about the Nile River that not many rivers in the world do. Yeah, it flows backwards. It flows from the south all the way up to the north. So that's why Upper Egypt is at the start of the river and Lower Egypt is where the river ends. So make sure you write that answer down. Number 3, what were the eastern, western, and northern boundaries of Egyptian settlements? So we have the eastern desert, the western desert, and Nubia. But is Nubia really a boundary or is it another country? What shows the stopping points of the ancient Egyptian boundaries? Do you think it would be easy to go through the deserts? Do you think it would be easy to bring a boat through the cataracts? All right, good points, friends. Remember, you were answering in complete sentences. Number 4, given the geography of this area, do you think Egypt was vulnerable to foreign invaders? There are some words that you may have to look up here. You may have to look up what it means to be vulnerable. You may have to look up what it means for foreign. And you may have to look up what invaders were. Remember, you have access to your laptop, so pause the video and look those up. Then you are going to tell me, yes or no, was Egypt vulnerable to foreign invaders because of the geography? And then, here's where a lot of people lose points. Explain your thinking. And then number 5, what do you notice about the population distribution and settlement location in ancient Egypt? List 3 reasons for this. Where do we see all of the cities on this map? Where do we see all of the settlements? Exactly, they're all on the river. But why? Tell me 3 reasons why. When you are done with that, we are going to move to document C. You are going to study it's not a map, it's a picture. You are going to study the picture below and answer the following questions in complete sentences. The Nile River flows south to north against a prevailing northerly wind. Remember, we talked about that, from south to north. And it goes against the wind. The river goes against the wind. In ancient times, boats traveling upstream against the Nile current used a sail or rowers or both. Boats traveling downstream to the north often just floated up with the help of steering oars. The Nile current was about 4 knots or 4 miles per hour during flood season. It slowed to a sluggish 1 knot or 1 mile per hour during the rest of the year. Here's our source for this. We have 5 questions again that we need to answer. Number 1, what is being transported by the barge? So this one right here, the one pulled by tugboats, is the barge. What are those objects that are being transported? Remember, you can always zoom in. So once we zoom in, we see it closer. What in the world are those objects, friends? Number 2, what is likely being carried by the large sailboats? So here's our large sailboats. There's that thing that's being carried. Again, we can zoom in. So what do you think that is? And as always, you are answering in complete sentences. Number 3, what directions are the sailboats, barge, and tugs all traveling? Explain your reasoning. Remember the note. Are they going south? Are they going against the river? Or are they going north? Are they flowing with the river? And then tell me how you know. You can't just say they're going north or they're going south. You have to tell me how you know. Number 4, drawing from evidence in the document, what are 5 occupations in Egypt that depended in some way on the Nile River? So we see a lot of people doing a lot of different jobs. Tell me what 5 of these jobs are. We know they depend on the river because they're all on the river. And our last one, number 5, how does this document help you answer the question, how did the Nile shape ancient Egypt? So you have to answer number 4 before you can answer number 5. All of those jobs depend on the Nile. So how did the Nile shape the entire civilization? As always, if you need help, ask me or Miss Dodge. Be good people, make good choices, and go Vikings.